Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Yuwat. It's Friday, July 8th. This is Africa 54.
Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo call for calm after clashes erupt between the Congolese military and M23 rebels. Former Angolan President José Eduardo dos Santos dies in Spain at 79 following a long illness. He ruled Angola for nearly 40 years, stepping down in 2017. And in our entertainment report, Music Time in Africa host Heather Maxwell talks Afrobeats from a female perspective with U.S.-based Ghanian DJ Akuaa.
We'll have those stories in a moment, but we begin with a deadly attack in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Local officials on Friday say Allied Democratic Forces rebels have killed 13 people and torched a clinic in eastern DRC. Kasereka Isemigabo, the mayor of Lume in North Kivu province, says ADF fighters entered the town Thursday night and burned down a health clinic, killing 4 patients inside. He added that the militants killed 9 more civilians before retreating into Virunga National Park. Army spokesman Anthony Malashi says the army killed 3 fighters and captured 1 when it responded to the attack. Following the clashes on Thursday between the military and the M23 rebels, DRC authorities are calling for calm in eastern Congo. Pondiho has more.
Tension is high after clashes on Thursday between the Congolese army and M23 rebels in the eastern DRC. New fighting erupted in the Rushuru area of North Kivu province, forcing residents to flee their homes, according to local media reports. This latest violence came just 1 day after Congo and Rwanda agreed to de-escalate their tension, following a day of talks between their presidents mediated by Angola. The meeting was held in Luanda between Rwandan President Paul Kagame and Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi. Angolan President Joao Lourenço was the mediator. Rwanda and Congo have recently traded angry statements stemming from Congo's allegations that Rwanda is backing M23, which primarily consists of Tutsi fighters from Congo. But Rwanda denies it's backing the rebels. Rwanda, in turn, accuses Congo of supporting a group of insurgents with members who allegedly participated in Rwanda's genocide in 1994. After mainly lying dormant for years, the M23 resumed fighting last November after accusing the Congolese government of failing to honor an agreement to incorporate its fighters into the army. As a result, the M23 seized a Congolese town near the Ugandan border of Bunagana. In a related development, Congolese authorities are asking for calm and an end to growing xenophobia and Rwandan rhetoric amid the tensions between Kinshasa and Kigali. In early June, a video was shared on various social media platforms showing men, faces covered with Congolese flags and armed with machetes, loitering in the streets in Kinshasa in front of a shop owned by a Rwandan. The police have since arrested the men they believe are on the video holding machetes. Protest organizers say they do not want to harm Rwandan citizens, and the government is taking measures to safeguard Rwandans in Congo who may have nothing to do with the crisis. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
We have an update on Tuesday's Nigeria prison break. Nigeria's security forces on Thursday have recaptured 27 inmates who fled after the prison attack in Abuja. Islamic State is claiming responsibility for the raid on the Kuje prison, which freed some 440 inmates, many were Islamist militants. The attack raises fears that insurgents are venturing from their enclaves in the northeast. 3 of the attackers were killed in the assault, while several others escaped with bullet wounds. The prison attack also raises questions on the security of Nigeria's correctional facilities, especially those holding suspected militants. The World Health Organization says 2 people in Ghana who tested positive for the Marburg virus have died. Marburg is a highly infectious disease similar to Ebola. The WHO says the tests conducted in Ghana had to be confirmed by a laboratory in Senegal. The 2 patients in the southern Ashanti region both had symptoms including diarrhea, fever, nausea and vomiting before dying in the hospital. This is only the 2nd outbreak of Marburg in West Africa. The first ever case of the virus was detected last year in Guinea. Former Burkina Faso President Blaise Compaoré has returned to the West African country despite a conviction in April for complicity in the 1987 murder of charismatic revolutionary Thomas Sankara. David Doyle has more.
Former President Blaise Compaoré flew out of exile and into Burkina Faso on Thursday after an 8-year absence. And that's despite having been convicted in absentia in April of complicity in the murder of charismatic Marxist revolutionary Thomas Sankara. Compaoré, who fled the West African country after being ousted in a coup, arrived for a meeting with interim President Henri Paul Damiba and other former leaders. His niece, Marceline Yameogo, said she was very pleased.
We must forgive each other and go for reconciliation because the nation needs all its sons and daughters for its development. It is not with insecurity and quarrelling that we will build a better Burkina.
Sankara, who earned a reputation as Africa's Che Guevara, was gunned down in 1987, 4 years after seizing power in a coup. Lawyers for Sankara's family had demanded Compaoré, who was handed a life sentence in April, be arrested on arrival. Burkinabe media have been speculating he could be granted a pardon. Compaoré and other former leaders are in the country for a reconciliation summit amid rising insurgency-linked insecurity. It's being hosted by Damiba, who took power in a January coup. Member of Parliament Lassiane Ouedraogo said diplomacy had been set in motion and that we all have to be a part of that. Compaoré was flown by helicopter to the presidential palace after his plane arrived in Ouagadougou from Ivory Coast. He's been living there since the uprising that ended his nearly 3 decades in power. Ivory Coast has repeatedly refused to extradite Compaoré and said his return had been agreed with Burkinabe authorities.
David Doe of Reuters filed that report. Ethnic Tigrayans in northern Ethiopia's camps for displaced people say they are being held against their will because of their ethnicity after being forced from their homes. VOA was able to access 2 of the camps where inhabitants say they are not allowed to leave despite lacking food, water and medicine. Henry Wilkins reports from Semera, Ethiopia.
On the surface, the Semera and Agatina camps in northern Ethiopia's Afar region appear to be like other camps for those displaced by the country's civil war. But media reports this year indicate they are serving as prison camps for ethnic Tigrayans who were forcibly taken there and are not being allowed to leave. VOA was able to gain rare access to the camps where inhabitants say local security forces in December rounded them up in their hometown of Abala. VOA is not identifying those we spoke to due to concerns about possible retaliation.
The first thing is we don't have our identity documents. If we go out of the camp, the police will seize us and send us to prison. There are displaced people who are in prison. If you don't have an ID, you can't even go shopping. There is no freedom of movement, even though we repeatedly asked for it. We can go out sometimes, but only with a police escort.
Temperatures in the camps at this time of year regularly rise above 40 degrees centigrade, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. But Tigrayans here say they are not allowed to leave for medical treatment.
There have been 7 cases where people have died since we arrived here because of lack of medicine. They died from hypertension, diabetes, and of course, children and the elderly died because of the high temperature.
A mother in Agatina camp, which houses about 700 Tigrayans, says she fears for her children.
We came here 6 months ago. The situation here is so bad. We don't get medicine or enough food. There are 150 children here.
The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission on June 29th acknowledged that 9,000 Tigrayans were being held illegally in the camp and called for their immediate release.
People there are held against their will, that families are not staying together, that men and women, by being separated, you're separating a family, that they are not getting medical help, ready access to medical help when you need help outside the camp, that is. These are the three key indicators, and that is why we are certainly alarmed and concerned about these camps.
This Tigrayan man says he's suffering from tuberculosis.
There is no support here. We are on the verge of death. We spend day and night in this way, and the situation is critical. If the government does not support us, I don't know what our fate will be. Only death waits for us.
Ethiopia's federal government had no immediate response to the Rights Commission's call for their release. The Afar region's Disaster Prevention and Food Security Coordination Office initially agreed to an interview with VOA, then suddenly stopped responding to messages and phone calls. Henry Wilkins for VOA News, Samara, Ethiopia.
Former Angolan President José Eduardo dos Santos, who ruled Africa's second biggest oil producer for nearly 40 years, has died in Spain. He was 79 years old. Dos Santos died at the Tancan clinic in Barcelona, where he was being treated following a prolonged illness, according to a statement from the Angolan president's office. He had mostly lived in Barcelona since stepping down in 2017, and he reportedly had been undergoing treatment there for health problems. His successor, Angola's current president, João Lourenço, has declared 5 days of national mourning. Dos Santos frequently described himself as an accidental president, taking the reins after Angola's first leader, Agostinho Neto, who died of cancer surgery during surgery in 1979. His rule was marked by a civil war lasting nearly 3 decades against US-backed UNITA rebels, which he won in 2002. For more perspective on Dos Santos, I'm joined by VOA Portuguese reporter João José Santarita. João, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you for having me.
Now, most people want to know who exactly was José Eduardo dos Santos.
Okay, he joined the MPLA very young. One has to say that he gave most of his youth or most of his life to what he believed was his cause, which was the MPLA movement. He joined the MPLA movement in 1961 when the MPLA started the liberation war against the Portuguese. He then got a bursary to go and study in the then Soviet Union, where he got an engineering degree, oil engineering degree. He came back to Congo-Brazzaville, where he worked for the MPLA, and then he was given the responsibility to represent the MPLA in several African countries. In 1974, it was only in 1974, that is interesting, just a year before independence, that he became a member of the Central Committee of the MPLA.
He is remembered as one of the most powerful leaders in Angola. And how will Angolans remember him?
Well, I have to say that he has two aspects to his presidency. One was that he won the civil war against UNITA, but made peace with UNITA, and that many people regard as, you know, a good step in taking Angola into a period of peace and no war. However, his presidency was also marked by high levels of corruption, and this was because the MPLA was a Marxist-Leninist movement. Once the Soviet Union collapsed, they quickly had to adapt to a new system, a new capitalist system, let's call it, and he did that by creating a system of patronage, a system under which his family and the generals and people around him were given the best business, the best agreements with the government for business, and so thousands of millions of dollars disappeared. His daughter became the richest woman in Africa, and so I'm afraid that this is how people will remember him. The huge discrepancies between rich and poor in Angola are quite frightening, actually.
And very briefly, do we know if the current president is going to have him, accorded a state funeral?
Well, There's going to be a fight over this because his family, or part of his family, of the dead president's family, has been fighting with Dos Santos over the fact that, with Lorenzo, over the fact that the new government has been taking judicial actions against members of the Dos Santos family. Isabel Dos Santos, Chisé Dos Santos, his daughters are living in exile. They can't come back to Angola because they risk being arrested. Now, what's going to happen? We know that the Angolan government wants to give him a state funeral, but we don't know how the family is going to react to this.
Well, Joao, thank you so much for your insight on this report.
It's a pleasure.
Joao Jose Santa Rita is a VOA Portuguese reporter and a native of Angola. Still to come, Afrobeats from a female perspective. Stay with us.
One of the things that I'm really proud of is my partnership with young people like you.
Over 5,000 African young people are alumni of the Mandela Washington Fellowship, the brainchild of former US President Barack Obama, aimed at helping young Africans become leaders. In the 8 years since it was launched, how is the Young African Leaders Initiative helping young Africans?
We've had access to grants.
You now have access to people from 54 other countries.
Are there any benefits to being an alumni of YALI?
We were exposed into so many opportunities.
How is the US-sponsored program contributing towards your personal growth?
I get comfortable sharing my story.
Join me, Mike Hove, and my co-host, Myra de la Salette, as we speak to YALI alumni on their experiences. And the critical question, is Africa's future brighter with YALI? Don't miss this special panel discussion on Tuesday, July 12th, starting at 1400 UTC on voaafrica.com, Facebook, and YouTube.
In other news, at the annual Hajj gathering on Friday, hundreds of thousands of Muslim pilgrims from around the world raised their hands to heaven and offered prayers of repentance on the sacred hill of Mount Arafat in Saudi Arabia. And Japan's longest-serving former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe died on Friday, hours after he was shot while campaigning for a parliamentary election in the western city of Nara. The English Premier League is set to kick off in a month at Bournemouth. Left-back Jordan Zemura says he is excited to get into EPL action. VOA's Mike Hove spoke to Zemura about the upcoming season.
I feel like it was a very good season last year. And I think as a team, we really grew together and bonded as one. And if you see our changing room, we're all really close friends. And like, it was just, I guess some people may say destined, but like, I think we worked really hard in the preseason last year. And now we're just really excited to get going this season.
Your career has progressed so quickly over the past couple of years. In August, you were actually the player of the month at Bournemouth. Congratulations on that. You scored so many goals as a left back. Congratulations on that. What are your thoughts on the analysts, on what people are saying about you and how your career has progressed?
Of course, it's flattering. It's nice to hear and stuff like that when people speak well of you. Of course, that's human nature. It's nice to be complimented. It's nice to know like what you're doing, you know, the hard work that you're doing. People are seeing it as well. But I think like for football is a very it's an up and down sport. So, you know, like as much as there was highs, there was obviously lows. Like from my injury to getting back to my best as I could, and then obviously So obviously I thank the analysts for saying what they said and stuff like that, such as like the goal contributions that I've helped towards the team, and just all in general. Really, it's been it's very nice to hear. And obviously my mom always keeps me grounded. She's always telling me, "Come on, it's the next one now."
Let's talk about your AFCON appearance, because that's arguably the most important appearance for the Warriors. What was it like playing up against Africa's elite, Africa's best in AFCON?
Being able to perform at the biggest stage, AFCON was it was surreal for me, because that's something I've watched from young when I used to see the likes of Didier Drogba, you know, Yaya Toure, players of those standards playing this tournament. I used to think, wow, like these are African players that play in the Premier League and they're representing their country. Like it filled me with a sense of pride and sort of something from a young age. I've always thought, you know what, one day, like when I hopefully, God willing, I get there, I'm not gonna like look back on it. I'm gonna take my opportunity, and to perform in that competition. Cameroon was a very beautiful country. Of course, it didn't go to as planned as getting out of the group, but obviously winning against Guinea was an amazing experience. I think that just showed the nation like what's to come. Showed like how good the youngsters coming through are and stuff like that, and obviously the older players there. They helped lead us and stuff like that. So, it was surreal for me.
you know, there's so many players that are born in different countries and end up representing their countries where they live, right? So you were born in England. Why choose to represent Zimbabwe when you could easily, you know, work hard and play for England?
It was always in the back of my mind, but I remember being 20 and I was just like, you know what, I wanna play men's football. I wanna play first team football. I hadn't been on loan or anything like that. I was training with the first team, and I was like, I've played a few games. I made my debut against Crystal Palace, played Man City, and then I was like, this is a great opportunity. This is something that how can you say no to this? How can I say, nah, I'll give it a couple of years, see if I can get into. I wasn't gonna do that. It was more or less the sense of, you know, my grandma's there, my granddad's there for my mum's side, my family there, like he's type Zemura, there's a few Zemuras in Zimbabwe. So it was a sense of like, not pride to my family, but it was for me, like, just to show like my siblings, my older siblings, my cousins, you know, like, we rep in Zimbabwe, like, this is my country. So it was an easy choice for me. When the opportunity came, and obviously I spoke to the management team there at Zifa, they were very like, they were pushing me to come. They wanted me to come, and I felt that sense of like, you know, that sense of love, that sense of, listen, we want you here. And that it was a great moment for me to do that in my career. I think without that, I don't think I'd be where I am now. So I think it was a great step up at the time.
At 22, you are about to play in what is arguably the biggest football league in the world. You're going to rub shoulders with the biggest global icons on the football field. What can people expect from you in the 2022-23 season, man?
You know, a young, hungry man who's ready to take on the world, really. Like, I fear no one. You know, I'm ready to go and compete at the highest level, and also to learn. I think that's one of the biggest things. I think last season I learned a lot in the championship, and I can only thank, obviously, the manager and giving me that trust to play in that division, because I'll tell you, it's a tough division. Of course, it's hard. Yeah, I learned a lot, the physicality side of it. So like now, going into the EPL, I know, like you said, like global icons, the likes of Ronaldo, Fernandes, and players like this. It's amazing because, you know, I want to learn from them. I want to see how they play on the field. Of course, I want to compete and want to win games, win matches. But I think the learning bit is going to be the best thing for me, because that's how you improve. You can only improve by learning and, you know, working through, like, you know, tough times, you know, in games. And then when you're winning, obviously it's going to be a little bit harder this season. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it.
That was Jordan Zemura, left back of AFC Bournemouth, speaking with VOA's Mike Hovey. It's time for our entertainment report, and joining us now is Music Time in Africa host Heather Maxwell. Welcome, Heather.
Thanks, Esther. There aren't too many female DJs in African music, or in any music for that matter, but I had the pleasure of meeting one in my home studio earlier this week. DJ Akuaa is an artist, a rapper, producer, and a DJ. But first, let's talk about your artist side.
The very recent song I have out is titled Chargy, featuring Kwaku Afro. He's based in Ghana. So basically that song came about. I was in Ghana during Christmas. We got into the studio and he was telling me about how he's really falling for a girl. So we were just in there and then like, he started the song like, you're my Chargy. And then we just went with it. That's how the song came about, and then I added 16-bar rapping in there. I'm a whole meal, I be your lunch and dinner. You all up in your feelings like So yeah, and it was produced by Apia. Shout out to Apia. He's based in Ghana too, Kumasi. And then the one before that is titled Yes Coco.
Right.
With Kwame Eugene. You guys should definitely check him out. He's amazing.
And you might remember that because Kwame Ofori and I featured Yes Coco on Music Time in Africa and Africa 54 on World Chocolate Day.
Dark skin till casket. Your body in the body, not just it's a magnet. You get questions, we get answers. Cause when we're shaking the whole planet.
So we were just highlighting dark-skinned women, not bleaching, and just, you know, loving the skin that you were born with, you know, pretty much. And I did not know it was World Chocolate Day until you guys posted, by the way. So now I learned something new, you know, from the song, and you guys as well. So.
Tell me more about being a DJ. When did you start doing it?
So I've been DJing for about 11 years now. I started, my brother-in-law came into the family. He was a DJ. I've always wanted to sing. I just God didn't give me the voice, and I just, you know.
So you're like, well, I'll DJ.
Yeah. I mean, something that has to do with music. And when I was younger, my mom, we're watching awards or something, and my mom would be like, if you knew the schoolwork as well as you knew these lyrics. So I knew I wanted to do something with music, but I just didn't know what. So started DJing. He started giving me tasks to do. He'll give me an assignment, give me a week to do it. I'll get it done within like 2 days. And he saw how serious I was, how dedicated I was, and he was like, you know what, we're gonna, you know. And you know, I'm more of a tomboy, so he actually made me stand in heels for like 6 hours straight to adjust to it, because he'd be like, after being a female and being a DJ, you need a wow factor. And your wow factor would be that you would do all of this while in heels.
Oh,
I didn't get it. I really hated him at the time. Shout out to Mixmaster Berto. I've done concerts, I've done festivals, South by Southwest, corporate events, clubs, but my all-time favorite has to be weddings, because weddings is very sacred because I get to share a moment with certain people. And what actually happens is, apart from sharing that moment, I end up becoming like family with everyone, because when they have the babies and their baby showers, I kind of go through the whole family process with them. So it's pretty cool.
Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
That was a very fun interview, Esther.
The girl is tough.
Yes.
Girl power.
Yeah.
DJ. Where is she based here in the U.S.?
She's based in Maryland, close by.
She mentions Ghana a lot.
Well, she is Ghanaian also. Yeah.
She's Ghana. So have you seen her perform?
I have not seen her perform yet, except in the studio. I think you just saw at the end, we kind of jammed a little in the studio. But it just so happens that this Sunday, July 10th, in Frederick, Maryland, not too far from here, there's a big African-themed picnic and music festival, and she is going to be performing there. So if anybody is listening who's in the area, they can go. I'm going to go and see her again, and other artists like Samini, Wande Cole, Kelvin Boy. A lot of big name Afrobeats artists are going to be there. It's called DMV Party in the Park.
DMV Party in the Park.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see all of that, Heather. Please bring it us.
Thank you.
Bring it here on Africa 54.
Well, that's it for this week's entertainment. Now you take it away, Esther.
Heather, thanks. Be sure to join Heather Maxwell every Friday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. We invite you to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.